There we go. Hey, gang. How's everybody doing tonight? Michael Daniels here. I am joined tonight with another top contributor that I finally got to meet in person, which was kind of awesome, to be honest with you, because I had seen him do these videos before in the past with spreadsheets, and I was like, oh, my God, I needed to get him on. And thank God he said yes, and he totally agreed with it back then. But say hello to everyone, Ted.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Thanks for joining us.
There you go. All right, I'm going to go through quickly. And just so you guys know, I'm trying to do this, and you can watch every Wednesday night. I'm going to try and do it every Wednesday night. If we miss a Wednesday night, it's probably because it's Thanksgiving or something like that or whatever. Or maybe I just didn't feel like it or I couldn't find anybody. But I'm going to try and do these things. I know we did Inbox last week, and I can share that with everyone in here. I'll put that link, post a link in here while Ted's talking. I'll put a link over here to the Inbox one so you can go back and watch that and learn a little bit from that TC. And I brought Ted in this week. And then next week, we have Russ Buckman, I believe is his last name. He's coming in to do photos, Google Photos next week. So, and then after that, we have Phi, and then we have some other stuff. So there's all kinds of stuff to learn. And I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be a blast. And I really appreciate my fellow TCs and trying to give them a little bit of exposure, because we do a lot of stuff on the forums where we're helping people, and a lot of times, we're trying to get our exposure out there and help people and teach people, I think. I mean, do you agree, Ted?
Oh, yeah. Especially with docs and sheets and everything, this product at least it's a puzzle every single time, and there's so much we're doing on the forums, but, it's not always the best way to reach people. So I'm excited to have another avenue to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that being said, let me go ahead. I'm going to lock my screen on and share my screen. I'm going to turn my lower third off so it doesn't block. There we go. Okay, it's not blocking. Basically, this is where you get it. You get to Google Drive. This is the main thing where sheets begin. I'm going to start off with a little something, and he's going to go with his agenda and rock and roll. But I just told him that I wanted to throw a couple things just for people, because we want to try and take it from every level. If you're a beginner, never done this before, all the way up through, or who's probably excels at spreadsheets. No pun there, but that was bad, wasn't it?
That was bad.
Okay. Basically, here's where Google Drive is. And, these are all folders right here that you can see that I use. And then you can always tell a spreadsheet by the little green icon that you saw before. There's a test blank one. But if you wanted to create a new one, you would just go right here and select Google Sheets. There's a lot of other stuff that you can select, but this is where you would go and start a brand new one and do it that way. Over here in Drive, you can find Google Sheets. You can search by Google Sheets by clicking up here and actually choosing the type. Like, you can choose all your spreadsheets. So when you search, you find every single spreadsheet that's listed there. Really kind of convenient and cool. The other thing is, some people don't like looking at this view. Here's another view, a way of looking at things. Like, some people want to see what's in the spreadsheet. You can see it that way. The other thing is I like I like having a list. I'm kind of old school Microsoft kind of, where we used to have all the little, every single thing is a file there. So anyway, but you can have details of activity that's been going on, and you can see when a sheet or something was updated or something was edited and that kind of thing, and by whom. That's really, really useful when you're collaborating and doing stuff like that. Now, I'm going to switch back. I'm going to take it back over to Ted and let Ted rock and roll now, because that's really all the things that I wanted to show you. I just wanted to make sure and point out and go through those things real quick. So Ted, can roll.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right, can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the main interface of Google Sheets, and just to start out, what is Google Sheets? Well, it's Google's version of a spreadsheet program. So it's not a replacement for Excel. You'll find different features, and it was built on the web, so it's web-based, where Excel was built as software. So there's some things that Google can do to take advantage of being web-based. And there's things that they can't do. The first thing I want to talk about was just basic navigation. The difference. I'll talk about some differences between Sheets and Excel as we do this. But really, in general, if you can do it in Excel, you can do it in Sheets. And I did see a question there real quick about what's the difference between Google Docs and Google Sheets. So terms real quick before we start. There's always been this branding issue for Google when it comes to Google Docs, because as it started, it used to be 3 editors. You could edit presentations, spreadsheets, and documents. And it was Google Presentations, Google Spreadsheets, and Google Documents. And they all lived in this world called Google Docs. Well, they decided way back in the day to rebrand it and bring more things and bring Drive and all this stuff together. And Google Docs became this umbrella term for pretty much anything that Google was creating. And now we call them the Google Docs editors. So Google Docs, which is the document editing tool by Google. Then you have Google Sheets, which is spreadsheets, and Google Slides, which is for its presentations. Those all kind of fall into the bucket of what we call the Google Docs editors. So when people are saying, oh, I need help with my Google Docs spreadsheet, they're really talking about Google Sheets. This really just mostly becomes a problem when people are talking about Google Docs. It's like, okay, well, you're talking about Google Docs editors, like the collection of everything, or are you talking about Google Docs as an actual Google document? So
in other words, they just like to confuse things.
Basically, yeah. We'd like to have arguments every 6 months or so about what should it be, and so those are your basic terms. But I'll call it Sheets when I'm talking about it. So basic navigation compared to Excel, I think it's much simpler. You have your basic menus up here: File, Edit, View. Form is a little bit different. You won't see that in Excel. This allows you to link a Google form to a Google spreadsheet or Google Sheet. And then add-ons, I'll talk a little bit about later, is kind of Sheets version of macros, and then you have help. Then you have your basic buttons here, print, undo, redo, paint format. You can do formatting for your different cells, move decimal places. This button is we call it the 1, 2, 3 button. This is where you can see all the different types of formats that you would want to apply to a cell. Then we have font
when you
size.
say, just so I can emphasize on that, sure, you're talking about number formats,
yep,
or
formats.
any formats, any format. Like formatting text, or are you just talking mostly with what you want that cell's format to come out, like with numbers and dates and that kind of thing?
Yeah, so in general, most of the type of data you're going to have in a spreadsheet is some sort of numerical representation of something. And when we start getting into all the different types of numbers and formats, that's really what this button is for, is to help you format your data correctly. So if you have a date, it actually shows up as a date and not a time. Or if you want to show it like a time, you can see both things. So
perfect.
That's what that is, yep. So moving along, then we have bold, italic, strike through. These are pretty typical across. People know what these are. You can change the text color. This changes the color of the background of the cell. This will actually put a border to the cell. So right now what you see when you're looking at the grid view, it's just a grid. Those are faint gray lines, are not actual borders. But if you were to print this out and you wanted to see borders, you apply it there. But it also helps just aesthetically when you're looking at a spreadsheet to help your eyes focus on different things.
Ted, let me add something real quick.
Sure.
The sheet that were shared with you, and if you haven't got one, scroll up to get that, or I can put that back in. Keep in mind, your sheet, because it's comment only, will not show all of these, correct?
Yeah. There'll be some of these things that are grayed out that you won't be able to do.
And okay, perfect. And they're saying that the sheet is kind of out of focus a little bit, so you might want to zoom in a little, or
sure,
maybe that would help. I don't know.
Let's see.
I hope that's all it is. Just see if you can, but
yeah, I don't know.
bump up your quality, Kyle says.
That's a little bit better.
Let's see. Let me see.
Yeah, I'll keep going, and you can jump in if there's any other comments about it. But yeah, if you're seeing some fuzziness and you want to see it in real time, go ahead and open up the spreadsheet link that Michael shared, because it's the exact same sheet. And I'll talk a little bit about that in sharing and collaboration, kind of how that works of, we're all viewing the same spreadsheet at the same time. And
right.
So I'll talk about that in a second. So there's more buttons over here. This is how you're justifying text inside of a cell, vertically aligning, text wrapping. Oh, I missed this one. This is merging cells. So you highlight 2 cells and you want to merge them. You click on the merge button. And then more, you would see these if I wasn't zoomed in as much, kind of on the same line here. But You can insert a hyperlink, do a comment, which everyone right now has comment rights on the sheet, so you should be able to do that. Inserting charts, filters, and then just kind of some help functions in there that are kind of the most used functions that kind of help you build them. So that's basic navigation of what you're looking at the bottom here. There, hold on, let's see, hide this guy. These, I'm going to call these tabs. So spreadsheets are divided into different tabs, and it's basically just different sets of sheets all in one single spreadsheet. Here you'll see the Add Sheet button. It's just the plus. And then this kind of lists out all of your sheets. So if you wanted to go to another one. Uh-oh. You can do that. Oh, I know what that's at. So that's basic navigation. The cool thing, it looks like somebody put a comment in the cell, so we can hover over it and see Kyle said hello. So I can click on it and I can reply back to him and we can have a little conversation in the cell, but we're not going to do that. Okay, so second thing I want to talk about is sharing and collaboration. So Google takes the power of this being on the web and signing into your Google account. You don't have to be signed into your Google account, but just the fact that this is on the web, you can share it with somebody. So instead of having to email this stuff around, I send you a link to my spreadsheet, you can see it, and we can collaborate on it in real time, which is really cool.
Richard asked a question, does it have text wrapping? And I believe you did show that.
Yep, text wrapping. I'm not sure if there's a button for it. I think it might be under here or something.
It's like a dot or arrow to the next to that or something. Oh, over one more. One more. There it is, right there.
Yep. So you can write a bunch of. So here, let's see, like here's a bunch of text. So right now it's not wrapping because it kind of extends over here in G, but if I wanted to wrap it, I can click on that. There's wrap, and it'll just drop it down there. And that'll clip it off so it doesn't extend over in G, but it doesn't wrap it. All right, so back to sharing and collaboration. Google Docs, so I'm talking about the Google Docs editors and anything in Google Drive takes advantage of sharing and collaboration. So that is all going to be the same across any of the Docs editors that you're using. But specifically for Sheets, the different levels of access are I can give anybody edit rights. I can give viewing rights, so you can't actually edit anything on the sheet, but you can see it. And then commenting rights, where you can put comments in cells, but you can't actually edit it. And you can do this by sharing it explicitly with somebody by, right now this is shared to anybody's with a link, but you can come up here, you type in their email address, and you click done, and it sends it to them, and only they can edit it. The other way to share something is you can just share a link. So this is how we're sharing this right now is Michael pasted that link out there, and so it's set that anybody with the link can comment on the spreadsheet. So yeah.
Real quick comment on that.
Yep.
Does the live collaboration lock cells or regions per user to avoid clobbering each other's work? That was in by Ryan.
Yeah, so it doesn't. I'm not sure what if we're both editing the same cell. I think kind of whoever gets there first will be able to edit the cell, and then you won't be able to do it.
I think it's actually whoever enters it last because they're the last one to make the edit, I believe.
Okay.
I think. I'm not sure, though.
Oh, that makes sense. I guess I'm saying, like, if I type in the cell and you're typing in the cell at the same time and I hit enter, mine's going to go through first. But
I got
as soon
you.
as you hit enter, it would override.
I got you. And Kyle says it locks the cell.
Okay. Well, there we go. I honestly don't run into that a whole lot. But I could see how that could potentially happen. But the other cool thing is as other people are clicking on it, you can kind of tell where people are, what they've selected. Right now it doesn't happen because nobody else has edit rights to this, but you would be able to see, hey, we're both writing on this. So when you're sharing something and you're going into, like how we have it right now, it's set as anybody with the link, you'll see all these anonymous animals up here. So if you Google anonymous animals, you can kind of read all about where this came about. But this is kind of the representation that shows us how many people are actually on this sheet. So it doesn't say exactly who it is, but you're all different anonymous animals. And then if you are signed into your Google account and you have access to it, it'll show you that you do. So you can see there's Michael. And then Lance is logged into. So other people who are logged into the Google account with this, you can see that they're actually on it. But otherwise, you end up being an anonymous animal. So don't get freaked out if you see that. So that's sharing and collaboration. I think I'm going to move on unless you see any other questions about the navigation or sharing and collaboration, Michael.
Okay. Let's see. Hold on a second. Sharing and collaboration. All right. I'm sorry. What did you say? Apologize.
I was just saying I was going to move on to number 3 unless you saw any questions about the first 2 topics.
Nope. You got it. You're good.
All right. So first, I just want to talk a little bit about some very basic examples of functions that, this all works in Google Sheets and it works in Excel and things that people are likely already know how to use. But I want to say, hey, look, Sheets can do it too. So I pulled an example data set that we'll talk about tonight that I'm just going to use. You can go online and find all these different types of data sets, but this is data about average monthly residential energy usage by zip code. And I think this is in LA. So I pulled this from that link if you're interested in actually seeing the raw data. Just a note, I did clean it up a little bit to make it more usable. I think that's a very big part of maintaining spreadsheets is really understanding the types of things you want to do with your data and cleaning it up because it'll make writing functions and things like that easier. So you'll notice I put a Z in front of zip code so that we can categorize it and it thinks that's an actual category as opposed to just 9001, which is a number. And then all these numbers have to do with actual usage. So these are years up here. So if you're following along, I'm now in the Booleans tab. So Boolean logic is basically, it's a way of talking about things in terms of different conditions, and it basically comes down to, is something true or is something false? And when you're able to decide that and make that decision about something, you generally send your logic, if something's true, let's go do this. If something's false, let's go do this. So the very basic if here, and I'll kind of show, this is all referencing, example, this data right here actually. So very basic example of an if statement says if you start writing the function, actually I'm going to show you this from the top. So this is actually pretty cool. If you start typing if, Google is going to say, oh, look what you're doing. Oh, wow, this is cool. Okay, it's going to help me write this. So it pulls up this, this helper tool, shows you kind of what all the parameters are going to be for the function to work right, shows you an example, a little summary, and then it also links you to a help article if you want to go out to the Help Center and read more about if, which I've actually linked over here. So, but I'm going to hide that for now. So if, and I'm just going to go back to the function there. So this is saying if D5 is equal to true, so this is D5 right here. If D6 is equal to 5, should change those numbers. Then return this is true. Otherwise, say this is false. So parameter is 5. Looks like, yep, we are true. So we're getting back here the result. Everybody can see that. It says this is true. So if I go over here,
keep in mind the formula is actually in E6.
Correct.
Okay, yeah. Just so anybody that's brand new doesn't know what he's talking about, how come that text is over there and mine doesn't have that?
Yeah.
This is just for the example purposes, so I want to make sure and emphasize on that.
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you.
That's all right.
Yes, so the results are appearing over here, and up here is the formula bar. So when you're typing these functions in, you can type them just by clicking in the cell and just kind of start typing it, or you can click in the cell and click up in the formula bar and start typing it. It's exactly the same thing. So here you can see that this is the same function, and it's returning this is true because D5, or D6 actually has the value 5 in it. If we change it to something 7, E6 is going to change because it's no longer true, and it's going to say this is false. So that's just a basic example of ifs, and this is a very, very powerful function when you start thinking of all of the different things you can do with your data, kind of depending on what you're trying to do. You're really, at the end of the day, you're trying to decide, well, is something true or is something false? And when you're trying to figure out what that something is really when you start getting the power of the if function, because you can nest all types of other functions inside of here.
Yeah, I think that's a good example of that is like with teachers when they do it. A lot of times they'll say like, if the number's 5, then put the word average.
Yep.
Or if they've done 90, then that's a really good or something like that. You can make you can really make it interesting. It makes it for a lot of fun.
Yep, absolutely.
And useful.
Yeah. So this function falls into a group of functions that all do conditional type things. So they're basically trying to answer a question about something and then they're doing something else. The next example I want to talk about is count if. So it sounds like, well, I'm going to count something if something is true, which is exactly what the function says it's going to do. So in this example, I'm going to use my actual example data set that I talked about a second ago. And really what I want to do here is I just want to count how many times there's a value in column B that's greater than 1500. So it's pretty easy to write here. Again, the function's actually over in this cell, but this is just so you can see it as I'm talking and clicking in other places. You start typing equals count if, it'll pop up with the helper thing again. The first parameter is where do you want to count? So this is a reference to the example dataset tab, and it's column B. When you type B, what is that called? A colon. B, it's called an open-ended range. It means it doesn't really matter how many cells you have, how many rows you have. It's going to look at all of B. So if you add a row to the bottom, you don't have to update your formula. It just knows. So if we look at B, this is B right here. We're going to count. Yep, go ahead.
I just want to add one thing. If you go back to that, okay, one thing, and this is for people that are just so green at spreadsheets. I know we take for granted a lot of times, but if you notice, he in his first formula in the example there, he has D6 equals 5. He's talking about D6 on this sheet. So, and if you notice, you have to get everything right as far as the example data set with the quotes and the exclamation point and everything in your formula in order to go to that other sheet. So those are really key for those of you that are trying to get information. If you look down the bottom of this tab, it says example data set. So it's real important to get that exactly right. But there are easy shortcut ways to get over there so you don't mess that up. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And also as you're typing these functions, if things aren't working, it's going to throw an error message to try to help you and kind of tell you, hey, here's where your problem is, and kind of help you fix it. So again, what this one's doing is we're just going to count how many times the value is greater than 1500. And really all you do when you're writing this is, well, this one's a little bit more confusing because I'm actually referencing the value that I typed in this cell. So this is saying, hey, let's look through column B everywhere, and let's count how many times whatever I typed in column D here exists. So looks like the answer is 2. The way we can validate that is we can, actually I'm not going to do that to confuse anybody, but you have to trust me, there's only 2 in all this that's greater than 1500. So it looks like there's 1, and there's the other one. Oh, no, it's these 2. That one was 1300. Yep, so there's 2. So you can show, if I wanted to change this, I can just change this to, let's do less than 1500. You should get 123, so it's pretty much everything else. So this is just, what this function basically does is allows you to count something if a condition is true. So I'm not going to go through these next 2 just in terms of time, but I put the examples on here of what they're doing if you want to review the spreadsheet later. But SUMIF basically does the same thing, except for counting the number of values that you hit. It's going to sum those values together. So in this case, it's finding all the values that are greater than 1,000 and summing them all together, and it ends up being 7,164. And then recently, maybe recently, past 6 months or so, Google added the ifs, so with an S on the end, which allows you to do multiple conditions and count things based on multiple conditions, where before you could only create one condition and then count things based on that condition. So now you have count ifs and sum ifs, and you can go out to the Google Sheets Help Center and find all fun documentation about all these different functions that are available. And if you're messing around inside of Sheets, you may even find functions that exist that work that aren't even documented. So if you find those, you found something fun. But we find them all the time. So if there's something you think's in Excel, you don't really think it's in Sheets, just try typing it out and see if it works, and sometimes it does. So those are Booleans. I think it's a really good thing to start with when you're starting out with Sheets of, after you start doing the additions and subtractions and multiplications and divisions, you can start getting into logic and using functions that require some sort of logic. So these are a good set to start with. Shall I keep going? Any other questions?
Yes, please do. No, keep going. Rock and roll.
All right, so next thing is I get asked all the time is conditional formatting. And I think in Excel, conditional formatting, there's so many steps, things you have to go through. You really got to know exactly what you're doing. I'll be honest, I stole these two examples directly from the Google Sheets Help Center. I changed them around a little bit based on my data, but these are two very important things that people ask for all the time. So one is highlighting when there's more than one occurrence, basically people just looking for duplicates, and then formatting an entire row based on a value in one of the cells. So if you want to, I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to have to go off of this tab for the directions, but if you want to, you'll be able to see the directions later, and I'll kind of show you how this works. So first things we're going to do is we're going to highlight when there's more than one occurrence of the same value in column B. So based on the instructions, you just highlight the entire range. Yep.
There you go.
Then we'll go to Format and Conditional Formatting. And so this pane here pops up to the right, and you get a bunch of different things you want to do. In order to do this, we're actually going to use a custom formula. So there's tons of options you can explore if you'd like. Basic. These are all that Excel has as well. But down here is custom formula, where you can just write a formula to do some conditional formatting. So in order to do kind of what we want to do, we have to write a formula to do this. So you click on that, and so now that's kind of what it's going to do before it decides how it's going to color things. And the function I'm going to write in here is I'm going to count if, so B1 is greater than 1. So explaining how this works is a little bit more advanced, because when you're writing this formula in here, you actually have to write it for the very first cell in the row that you want to do. Oops, really? There we go. So what this is saying, hey, count if something in B is greater than, or the number of occurrences in column B of whatever cell I'm in that B, so B1 here, if there's more than one of whatever's in that value, we're going to highlight it. And so if you think, okay, well, how is this going to apply to the whole column? So let's look at B2. It's going to do the exact same thing, but the formula that you would actually be looking at would just have B2 in the second parameter instead of B1. And so what Sheets is doing is it's applying all that logic for you, and you can't actually see that happening. So it's just a little confusing when you're writing these formulas to try to do something. Always remember that just write it for the first row, and it's going to figure out the rest of it.
Yeah, that is very confusing if you haven't worked with spreadsheets before, it's a very confusing thing. So I suggest, asking for help in the forum or something like that too. If you're just mind boggled, or one of us, we'll be glad to reach out to you.
Yeah, I'll say these are hard for me too. Whenever I'm trying to format something, sometimes it takes time to get that function just right, because you got to be thinking about a lot of things that are going on and trying to write it for that first row, and a lot of spatial thinking going on there. So once you have this all sorted out, we're just going to do green so we can see it. You can apply a bunch of other formats to it as well. We're just going to go ahead and click Done. So that's working right now. We can scroll down and, okay, there's some that are being highlighted. So that means that there's more than one occurrence of it. So what I'm just going to do to make this easy is I'm just going to change this as 358 to 334, and we're going to see that row 2 and row 3 should be highlighted. Hopefully I did this right. There we go. So they light up. So that's just an example of conditional formatting using a custom function to find duplicates in your column. I'm going to go ahead and skip the second one just for time, but if you look at the spreadsheet instructions, you can take this sheet on your own and do the same thing. Note that this is actually my spreadsheet, and so I'm not going to give everybody edit rights to it, but you can easily make a copy of this by clicking on File, Make a Copy. And once you make a copy, it's going to make a copy and store it in your drive, and it's going to be only shared with just you. None of the sharing is going to be copied over, and you'll have full access to do whatever you want with this spreadsheet. But now it's your own copy. It's not going to get updates if I make any updates to this, but it'll allow you to edit it and play around with it.
That's a great point. I learned that really after time. I never knew that was possible, because I kept saying, oh my gosh, I want a sheet like this. I want a sheet like this. And they said, well, just make a copy. And I was like, oh my God, I just make a copy. And then I have all those tools that you have at the top, that I had it on mine once I copied it over because it became mine.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
And I believe sharing rights don't pass either. It truly becomes your sheet, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And then you have all the rights. You're technically considered the owner, and so you can apply your own sharing rights to it if you'd like for some reason. But
very nice.
Good security practices. So one other thing I wanted to mention is whenever I'm on the forums, I generally make an example spreadsheet of what the user's talking about and share it as anyone with a link with them so that they can see it, but plus anybody else on the forums can kind of see how it works as well. If we're making templates or anything, there's actually a trick that you can edit the URL up here, and so that every time somebody clicks on the spreadsheet, it actually makes a copy of it, and so you'll never actually get access into the sheet. So I've started doing that on my sheets because I was getting a lot of emails of people saying, hey, I want to edit access to your sheet, even though I put some pretty clear instructions on, hey, if you want to edit this, you need to make your own, you make a copy of it. But Google put that feature in now that we can allow people to make copies of it. So this is really good for people who are making templates for things and posting them online and wanting people to have their own copies without going through a template gallery of sorts. But you can find that on the forum. I'm not going to go through that today.
Exactly. Hey, Rich has got a very long question, so I'll go ahead and bring this up real quick.
Okay.
In Excel, if you click on a cell right below the FX on this example, and the cell has formatting in it, and you want the same formatting on another, in a different data, it will copy the same formatting to the new sheet, and you just have to clear the data and insert the new data. Sorry for the long question.
Yeah, so he's talking about pasting formatting. So let's just do this for fun right now. I'm going to change the background of this cell to orange. And let's say I want to copy the format of this cell over to this cell, but not touch any of the values or anything. If you right-click, you go to Paste Special, you get all these different options, and one of them is called Paste. Well, first we need to copy the cell. And then we right-click on the cell we want to change, and then that's where we get those options. So if you go under Paste Special and click Paste Format Only, it'll paste the format, or really any formatting. So conditional formatting, something I just actually hard-coded on there, to that cell without changing the value of the cell. So
I like the format painter as well. The painting tool, I love that. I do that all the time.
Yep, so that'll do the same thing. So if I click on that and I click up there,
you have to get the first one selected, then then wherever you hit, there you go.
Yep. So I think that answers his question.
Yeah, he was
Excel, I'm not sure.
Right, he was talking about, and I'll bring it up right now. I meant the whole sheet formatting, not just a cell.
Oh, I think if you click in here, it'll copy the whole sheet.
When you say in here.
Okay, so the top left between, to the left of A and right above 1, if you click there, it'll actually select the entire sheet. And so
gotcha.
You could just copy it and then paste the format to your new sheet.
Gotcha.
The same way by right-clicking in the same area. So hopefully that answers his questions. If not, he can follow up, and I'm going to keep going.
Sure, no problem.
So the next thing I want to talk about is the next question I always get about sheets is, I have a macro written in Excel. How can I write macros in sheets? And I said, well, you can do it. But it uses a language called Google Apps Script. So Google Apps Script is also kind of a language that Google uses behind the scenes to make all this stuff work. But they allow an API to work and allow you to talk between Google products, but also do lots of things in spreadsheets. So if you can think it up in a macro in Excel, you can write it as a Google Apps script in Google Sheets. Now, the language is a little bit different because Excel uses VBA, if you're familiar with it, and Google Apps Script uses, it's kind of like JavaScript, but it's Google's own version. They call it Google Apps Script. So if you can look that up. It's developers.google.com, has all the documentation for kind of how all that works. And so you can write your own scripts by clicking on Tools and going to Script Editor, and it'll open up this whole new script editor where you can kind of write your script. So that's for custom scripts, but the most recent thing that Google's done is they've created something called add-ons, where developers can write their own scripts and publish them out into the add-on store, actually the Chrome extension store, and you can add them to your own spreadsheet. So if you click on add-ons, you can kind of see the ones that I've selected, or I have installed right now, but click on add-ons, go to get add-ons, and this whole store loads. So there's all these different things that you can pick from. But one of my big favorites that I'm going to use as my example is this one called Yet Another Mail Merge. So people ask all the time, how can I send emails from my spreadsheet? And I say, well, you can do it using the Yet Another Mail Merge script. So basically what it does is I'm going to go ahead and actually, Michael, if you want to share the form out right now.
Yep, that's what I'm going to do.
We're going to get some data in here. So basically how this
works.
All right,
folks, I'm going to switch his screen just real quick just so everybody knows. You're going to automatically be sent over to Business Hangouts. I'm going to force you to view this. You will be viewing the form. Let me know, please, if you see the form right now. And this is a live form. You can actually fill it in. Is that what you want him to do?
Yeah. So just know that what we're going to do here is you guys are going to submit information, and if you give me your email address, it's actually going to send you an email with something that I already have set up. So if you don't want your email shared or anything, just don't fill out the form, and I'll go ahead and fill it out myself. And so that we at least have one, real piece of data that we can use, so I can show you kind of how this works. So
this form is live, folks. So let me know that you're getting this form and you have it and you're good and all that kind of stuff, and you're able to fill it out. Just let me know.
Yeah. So I see. So I submitted one. I see some coming in now. So
okay.
We'll let it go for a second, and once I see things stop coming in. So basically, what's happening right now is I have connected that form to the spreadsheet. So people are filling it out, and immediately their responses are flowing into this tab. Yeah. But Forms is a whole other Hangout. It's very, very powerful in terms of data collection. It was really built for another way to basically collect data, but now it's morphed into a tool that teachers use for surveys, and Google's put a whole bunch of new features into it that allow you to use it in different ways. Okay, so it looks like I haven't gotten a whole lot more, so I don't know if you want to go ahead and switch back to my spreadsheet.
Actually, it's because I I took it off. All right, there you go. I'll let y'all keep filling it in. I took it away too soon. Some people were saying.
That's good. So yeah, there's a link to it also in the spreadsheet. So if you have the spreadsheet open, if you go to F1, you should be able to get to it there. But basically, what this is going to do is in the back end, when I get this going, is it's going to go and it's going to grab a draft email from my email that I've already created, and I put tags in the email based on kind of what's out here. Actually, I'm going to just go ahead and open that real quick. We're talking about this.
Oh, I love it. You're using Inbox.
Oh, yeah.
Scott would be proud.
I have so many emails in there. So this is the template that I have created. And this is just an email draft. Actually, I used one of their drafts from the add-on. But what you do is you type your subject as it's an email draft. And so these things in here are called tags. And what it's going to do is it's going to take the value for each row that has that as the column name in it, and it's going to put it in and send the email out. So right now, oops. Actually, need to rename this. So this says name. This is, oops. Oops.
So it has to match exactly whatever you have as your...
Yep. Favorite animal, and this is email address. Oh, and then timestamp. Timestamp's correct. Where are we here? Yep, so name, favorite animal, timestamp. I think that's good. So, so we're all set up. It has my template ready to go. I have some data I'm going to send out. So to get this going, you go to your add-on, go to, it says get another mail merge, and you click on start mail merge. Give you some stuff about this. You can read that. So what it does is it pops up this little wizard to help you do this. You set up what your sender name is, and then you have to tell it what email template you want to use. So I have the favorite animal already there. So it looks based on the subject. Let's make sure that's right. So there's the subject.
This is something you would create ahead of time, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, okay.
And so it's all ready to go. It's pretty easy. You can find email templates on their website too. It allows you, there's a bunch of other filtering and a lot of advanced features you can do this with this, but I just kind of want to show how this works from the basics. So it's ready to go. I'm going to click on send emails. And so right now it's ripping through the sheet and sending emails. So it shows you this nice little tracking report, kind of what goes on. So if you all go check your emails right now, you should have emails from me. And it also updates in real time, so I can see who's opening them when. If an email bounces, it looks like this is all working so far. So I'm just going to go to my email to kind of show, hey, this email came in.
Yeah, I got mine.
Yep, so you'll see, should have what your favorite email or your animal is, your name in the top left, the timestamp you submitted it in the top right. Mm-hmm. And there's actually a link to go back to the spreadsheet if you want to click on that. It should be working.
Very nice.
Yep. So that's that. So you can also, you can change these things in the merge status. You want to send stuff back. They have some new features for following up. So you can click on follow up here. And it'll ask you some questions about what you want to do. It'll send out more emails after that. So this is just
that's really nice. So it gives you actual feedback on the progress as well.
Yep.
So you can see whether they got it or not. Very nice.
Yep.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's okay. So this is just one example of an add-on I think is pretty cool. It shows the power of different Google products working together, but really we're powering this off on a spreadsheet. And I'll tell you, this took me about 5 minutes to create. I created my form, I created my email template, and everything else was pretty much there. Sometimes you got to troubleshoot it a little bit to make sure you have it all configured correctly, but yeah, I use this a lot.
That add-on, that YAM, probably was created by a user or something, or maybe, it might have been a company or something, but...
It's actually created by another Google TC, an AppScripts TC at the time, but he works for a company, and this is what he does full-time, is he writes scripts and
okay.
Things, so. Yep, so that's the end of their mail merge, but you can, a lot of the questions, if there's things that you want to do that you say, oh, hey, can I do things with Google Sheets and Google Calendar? There's probably an add-on out there for it, or you can go and read about the API to do it. It kind of depends on your technical ability and what you want to do. I'll say that we have some really, really amazing people with AppScript that if you have questions, you can go out to ask for the forums. And most of the support for that, is actually on Stack Overflow. So people who are familiar with software development, there's a lot of help out there. So that is actually Google's official Google AppScript support is through Stack Overflow.
Is it really?
Yep.
I never knew that. All right, a couple quick comments. I'm going to throw these up because this William Rock was just boasting. This is cool. My wife was talking about mail merge missing with Google versus Excel, so he was very glad that we brought that up today. And then Mark Barris brings up, if I can get it to come up, he said, my goal is to use Sheets to the point where I don't need my Office 360 anymore.
Oh, yeah. That's a great goal. I played around with Office 365, and I looked at Excel's web version of Excel, and it's just not quite the same as Google Sheets. And I hear a lot of people complaining, or not really complaining, but just commenting that, hey, Excel can do this, but Google Sheets can't. And I'm like, well, are you sure? Because it's a whole different. You got to think about the environment. You got to think that Google Sheets is in the web, and it's a whole different platform. And
that is true
for a replacement, but it's really not a replacement. So I think if we're going to compare products, really the best thing to do is compare the web version of Excel to Google Sheets. Now I know Microsoft's doing a whole lot better with this, and with Sheets being such a competitive product, they have market forces to help make their products better. So I'm sure both products will continue to get better over time, and it really does come down to ecosystem thing. But I tell you, Google Sheets is free.
Right, exactly.
It's hard to beat free.
Andre asked, has Google added support for local database access?
So I'm not sure. We get a lot of questions about people using Google Sheets as kind of a front end to talking to different databases and things, and I really don't have a good answer for that. Back in the day, there was a tool called Google Fusion Tables, which is more databasey than Excel, but depending on how much data you're using, I would challenge you to use Google Sheets as a database for something and see if you really need your backend database, because it's pretty powerful. I'm going to talk in a second about the query function. and how you can use it for basically running database queries.
There you go. Let's move on. I got some more questions, but I'd rather move on right now just because we're running close on time and stuff, and I don't want this to go too long.
Sure. So the last thing I want to talk about is some functions unique to Google Sheets. And I think the most awesome function I use all the time is the unique function. It basically, you want to know all your unique values in a cell, it'll do it. So I'm going to actually use the live data that we have. So we're going to find, I want to find all your unique animals. So if I just type unique, come here. We're going to change this to 2. So there's all the unique animals. So if somebody wrote something in there twice, we wouldn't see it, but I can go ahead and I'll change mine to woodchuck. And so penguin goes away and woodchuck is, oh, someone likes pandas and penguins. That's awesome. So this is really cool if you want to like start, counting things. For example, if I wanted to, count if all these animals here. I want to count the woodchuck. All right, I can say, oh, there's 2. There's 2 in there because I grabbed all my unique values, and now I can count how many times they're in there. So this is really cool. In Excel, you got to write a really long formula to do this, and I think this is absolutely awesome. So that's unique. The other one is query. We could talk about query all day, but basically what query is it uses a little language called Google Apps Visualization. It's a long GViz for short, Google Visualization. And it's basically you're writing SQL to get data back on your spreadsheet. So I want to write that exact same, actually I'm going to put this back here just to show. I'm going to write the query to pull back exactly what this thing is here. So you start writing query. Now when you're writing a query, you got to think, okay, this is not normal spreadsheet language. So I would make sure you look at the documentation and kind of understand what you're writing. But basically, it's 2 things. What's your data, what's your table at, and what's the query that you want to write. So the data that we want to look at to write the same thing is we're just going to look at stuff here. So that's my table. And then now you just start writing a SQL statement. So if you're familiar with SQL, it's basic database language. So what do we see? We wanted to select all the animals and count how many times they were there, right? So we're going to select, and when you're writing the Google Visualization SQL, you reference your columns using either the word COL and a number, or you can actually type the column letter. So I always use the column letter because it's easy to see. So I want to select C, and I want to count. We'll just count something. We'll count B. It's not really going to matter what we count. We want to group it by C, and let's go ahead and order by, alphabetize the animals. Let's alphabetize the animals, sending. And so we do have a header row, so we're going to go ahead and type 1 there, hit enter. And so there we go. So it pulls my header row back. This is the same stuff here. Well, this one isn't sorted, but here you go. So I just wrote a basic SQL query on spreadsheet data, and that's not something you can do with, you could use filter and like all this other stuff if you had to do it in Excel, but
it's true.
Basically you could write your own pivot tables very easily.
I have to, I made a comment out there, just please bear with us. This is advanced stuff. Yeah. We just taught them 3 ways, basically 3 ways to program what they want. One is a formula, one is scripts, and one is a query, basically the SQL.
Yeah. So this is a pretty advanced. I kind of, as we were going on, I kind of figured we start with some basic things. We'll get to advanced things, but feel free. We're going to submit we're going to have a feedback form after this to provide some feedback about this Hangout. And if there's some people who are maybe more technical who want to get into some things, and then if you have some things that aren't as technical, I've done videos on non-technical things and technical things too. So, totally up for making more videos based on the feedback of this Hangout.
I'm going to, I know some people are leaving and going into the debate because they want to watch the presidential debate. I'm going to copy the form into, there's a form that we have to get our feedback on this particular event, right?
Yep.
So here is the form. Please fill it in so we can do this again. We'll definitely do this again.
Yeah.
Let's see. Here's a form to fill in.
So while he's doing that, I think we should go ahead and open up for any questions for the remaining time. I'll hang here as long as anybody wants to. I know the debate's starting and there's a baseball game on and all of that. I was hoping to be done before 8, but I'll take any questions anybody else has if anybody wants to stay.
Yeah, let's see. I just want to make sure I get that link. Great work, guys. Kyle. Lon brings up, he says, I can use the SQL stuff for member database. There you go. That's awesome. Good stuff. Great work. Here we go. And we got from Andre. Thanks, Ted, Michael. I don't have any questions. That's good. It's always good if they don't. We can just kind of see the people that are here and who came tonight. You can kind of see there's the map. It shows we got people down in Florida, Tennessee, Missouri, over in LA area, New York. Kind of cool.
Nice.
Get to see a map where everybody showed up from tonight. Oh, there's one up there, Wisconsin. I know who that is. That's Kyle. Yep, and up in Michigan, that's Tom. There you go. And let's see what Kyle says. Kyle says, easiest way to gray, italics, and strike through a row based on conditional formatting.
Ooh, that's a good one. Let's see. So if we go back.
I know you can't do lines with conditional formatting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so let's see if we can do this.
Because that's something that I send in for feedback and request all the time, because I want to put a line below if there's text above, and it doesn't have
a line
that.
below if there's text above.
Yeah, so a conditional format, if there's text above this, what it does is it gives me draws a line for me, so I don't have to go and format just the ones every single time it's unique, and if it changes, I have to go change those lines.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So a conditional format that would fill that in would be great. I do that all the time. I know you can't do it with lines, but what he's talking about are other things like.
So okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to strike out a whole row. Is that what he wanted to do?
Yeah, I think so. He says if C4 equals done, then strike gray all of row 4.
Okay, so I'm going to just go ahead and do. So here we go. We got A through I. Oops. Oh geez. A through I, oops, typing in the wrong place, all right.
Thank you, Andre. Thanks for coming.
So
Thank
A
you,
through
Lon.
I, what's it do? Equals, said B, we say C. C.
Yeah, C4 equals done, then strike gray all through row 4.
Okay, so I'm going to apply this to the whole data set here, and we'll just go ahead and
you're not sharing if you mean to be, but that's fine.
Yeah, I'm going to do it on the spreadsheet.
That's fine.
So sets equals select done.
I like Mark's comment. He says, now, if I could replace Microsoft Access, I would really be happy.
Yeah, so here, Kyle, I don't know if you have the sheet open, but if you look in column, if you look in C.
No, he asked me to share your screen, please.
Oh, okay, I'll do that.
All right, there you go.
So this is striking through just the text. It's not putting a line directly through the whole thing. I don't think you'd be able to do that. But so here's I'm typing the word done. Oops. And it's striking it through. So if you come look over here, really you just apply the apply to range is your whole table of data. Write a custom function formula to say if the first for the whatever row you're in, maybe we're writing the function for the first row. So if C1 is done, go ahead and then you pick your formatting. Here's the strike through selected, and
Oh yeah.
I
Hmm.
put a color there too, but I can make it red.
But it does not have the borders. Like you can't put a bottom border,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
I don't think you can do that. I'm sure now we could write a script to do it.
Right.
Um,
Exactly.
yeah, something I think that actually probably be a pretty easy script to write if you posted about that on the forums. There might
Okay.
be an add-on out there to do it. There's this add-on called Power Tools, which has tons and tons of things like that people want to do. I haven't really dug through the whole thing, but I'm not sure what it does for formatting. But just
Okay.
another add-on to consider.
Oh, he has a good question. Follow up. So does it know how does it know to just do row 4?
So in this case, it's so if we go back here, I've applied this to everything. So it's not going to do just row 4. It's doing it to all of my rows. Now, if I wanted to do it just to row 4, I have to update the apply to range. So I would just want to do it A4 through I4, and then I can hit done. And so that it's not going to work there, but then if I type it here, oh, it didn't work. Oh, because I have the whole thing selected. What I'd have to do is I would just need to select this row and then apply the conditional formatting to that row itself.
Not sure if that answered his question or not.
So yeah, so when I had it,
Go ahead.
yeah, so when I had it set as, I think if I do it like that. Yeah, so now it's only working for row 4.
That's all right. He wanted what you had. He says right here, oh, okay, I wanted what you had at first.
Oh, okay.
He was just, I think what he was trying to figure out is how was it just doing that row?
Oh.
Why is it just doing that row? Or what are you doing to make it just that row for any row that you entered something in?
For just that row.
Yeah, like how come all of them across are going?
So because my apply to range is I'm applying it to the whole set, my whole table here. So my apply range is, I through I 126. So it's going to apply whatever I put in this formula to every single cell in that apply to range.
Mm-hmm.
So that would include the whole row across.
Why is it not doing the columns as well since you're doing the whole thing?
Because so it's based on whatever value is in the cell in column C. So it's only applying it to the row across.
Okay.
So if you said done in here, I don't know why you'd want to apply the.
Okay. He says, I see. He says he gets it. So
I think we could do it. But.
You can do I just can't remember how to do it myself. I know there's a way to do just columns too. Like the column and the row, so it's like an intersection. I know that can be done because I've seen them do it.
Oh yeah.
Not that we matter, but
I don't think I can do that on cue, but that is I know what you're talking about now.
Okay, and Richard asked, and yes, you can do this, Richard. Can you freeze the top rows so that when you scroll down the rows, you select stay there?
Yep. So right now I do have that set, and the way to do that is you go under the view, go to freeze, and it gives you a bunch of different options for what you want to do. So if you want to freeze the top row, it's just view, freeze, one row, and it freezes the top row. Let me see if I find one. So yeah, so right now this one doesn't have that. If I go to view, freeze, one row, it'll freeze the top row. And there you go.
What I like though that they just recently added, you can freeze the top row all the way up if you wanted to. It's really kind of nice.
Yeah. Yeah, you can pretty much freeze anything you want. You just kind of got to click in the right places, and these options will change based on.
And let's see, Charles, he adds, can you recommend some good add-ons?
Oh.
Charles, I can. Business Hangouts is a good one. It's actually an add-on in there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
I think it still is. You can go look real quick, but I'm almost positive it is. Just type in business. See if it comes up.
Yeah, there you go.
That's it. Business Hangouts for Sheets. There you go. So you can collaborate with someone just like we're doing right here in the middle of a business hangout. Anyway, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
No, it's fine. Yeah, so really, it really depends on how you're using Sheets in terms of, what to recommend. In terms of doing mail merges and sending emails from Sheets, I haven't found anything that I like better than yet another mail merge. There's, this more fonts thing is nice. There's a lot of add-ons out there that had been like feature requests in the past for Sheets that Google just hadn't got around to doing quite yet because there's other things that they're working on. And that people have just gone out there and built add-ons for it, and they'll show up in there. So you'll find these add-ons out there that get published, but then you can also just find scripts for things out on Stack Overflow, and you can install the script and basically right here in your spreadsheet and do whatever. So yeah, I'd say that my favorite is yet another mail merge. That's the one I use the most just because of how I use Sheets. But I try to, one of the things I think that's kind of instilled in me from the beginning of using spreadsheets is if the program or whatever you're using can do it without any extra code or any add-on or anything else, use the program for how it is.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why sometimes you see us on the forums giving these huge formulas for things. It's because that's what the tool is there to do, is to be able to allow you to do these things without having to write extra code outside of the function of the actual tool. Now, sure, some of the things that we're writing, you could probably write a script to do it much, much easier, but then it's just, okay, now we're starting to get into application development, and it's a whole other thing. But the cool thing about Sheets is you can talk to other Google products with it, and that's really where add-ons come into play, because a lot of what these things are doing, I mean, like getting real-time information about people clicking on opening your emails, Sheets isn't doing that. They have things built out like in their own tools and in the cloud, Google's cloud, and using other things offered by Google to allow this to work. So I think that's where the power of add-ons comes, is using external applications to integrate with Sheets and just using kind of Sheets as your front end, basically.
I am providing a link to a Google Sheet that it's pretty cool. It is every conditional formatting you would ever want.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's a really cool sheet, and it gives some great examples. And you can take off screenshot. Okay, you did. But I'm gonna tell you what, that thing is unbelievable. I learned so much from that, and it gives you, like, each tab has a different test, but on the first page it lists every test. So you can kind of see each test and then go see how it works. So if you're interested in conditional formatting, seriously, there's a, huh?
You own that sheet? Because I'm getting requesting permission for it.
Oh, are you? Okay, yeah. What should I do? Just share it, leaving comment or something?
Yeah, you could just do view. That's what I would do.
Just view. Anyone with a link can view. Yeah, can view. Then that way they can create their own and make one.
Yeah.
There, now it should be good.
Yep.
There you go. And Richard says, I've done mail merge with Microsoft Word, but never tried it with Sheets. I'm telling you, there's a lot of stuff that it can do. Yeah. This sheet right here, though, that I went on some guy in y'all's forum. I'm telling you, you got some great guys over there. The one I always mention is Pierre. I can never remember his name, but Pierre he does some script that's just incredible.
Yeah.
Just incredible. So you got some good friends in there.
Oh, this is fun. This is a nice sheet. Also, I guess one of the other things I want to say is, I get a lot of people kind of sending me private Google Plus messages or emails or things like looking for help, and I want to help everybody as much as I can, and but I also want to point out that the forums are absolutely awesome, and anybody who has the TC badge in the Google Sheets that's answering questions in Google Sheets has really earned it. And I learned everything that I've learned from people who were there before me. So yeah, you may be seeing me in this Hangout, but there are plenty of other people like me who can provide you really, really excellent answers to questions. So feel free to post on the forums. The TCs are really good about answering things pretty quickly. And I think the unique thing about Sheets is it's always a puzzle. And the TCs that are there today, they love solving puzzles. And so it's fun. You know, we're doing this because we like to do it, and it's fun. We're all volunteers. It's a cool time to be doing this type of thing, you know.
Again, I'm going to put in the feedback form for everyone. I'm going to put that in one more time, and I will share that on screen so everyone will actually be able to see that as well. I know I have the user live words in there that's kind of covering up. Oh, I think it's taking up too much of the space. Oh, well, it was too big. Maybe I can do it this way here. I'll just put that in front of it. And those of you that do know or don't know, I do a user-to-user community where we help people with this kind of stuff all the time, daily and nightly during the week. We meet in the afternoon. We get in a Hangout just like this, and I'm glad to help anybody out. Again, we designed the whole community just to help people for things just like this. We're in regularly, and I believe Andrew has it Central Time is, 10:30, I think. And then in the evenings at right around this time, right now, 9 Eastern or 8 Central. Come on in. We do a nightly hangout and a daily hangout, and we just sit there and go over stuff like this. Some of the people that are in the audience right now, Mark Barris, Lon McClure, they know about it, but others that don't. We do the same business hangout format, so we can do all the same stuff, sharing and all that kind of stuff. Come in the hangout and join us. We do this kind of stuff. So I am so glad you came, Ted. Thank you very much for coming along.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. I'm looking at the feedback form right now. I'm getting some good feedback about more things to talk about, so I'm sure there'll be more of these videos.
That's what I'm glad you said that, because I'm glad you said yes. First of all, like I said, I finally got a chance to meet you because I'd seen you in the past on Hangouts that you did with some other people before. So I really am trying to expose some of the top contributors out there and get some stuff known. Any of you that are top contributors and want to and are on a project and you want to do something else, please, I would love for you to come in and talk about your product. Like I said, next week we're going to have Russ Buckman come in, and he is going to come in and talk about Google Photos, which I think would be really a lot of fun. I think it'd be a good thing because that's something I want to learn a little bit about. You know, I'm pretty comfortable with spreadsheets, but when it comes to photos, not so much. I mean, I am, but not so much. And then says Michael, are those able to be seen in the replay? When you talk about those, what do you think he's talking about?
I don't know. I think probably the answer is probably yes. Anything that you saw during this will be available in that
spreadsheet.
Hangout. Yeah, the spreadsheet and
Hangout and the spreadsheet. I will put links to all these things on the YouTube video as well as in this Hangout. I have them over here in the comments. You can scroll through and get that. And then Charles says, where is this Hangout? You got it, buddy. When you clicked in to watch it right now, it's on your calendar. If you put it on your calendar, you use that link forever. I'm going to keep it live forever. You can come back and watch it anytime. Oh, those Hangouts in the morning and the evening he was talking about. Okay.
Oh, okay.
No, we do not record them. It's not a recorded thing. We do those. We usually don't go live, but we can go live. It's really kind of a cool function of Business Hangouts. We open up, we get into session. If it's something we feel like, somebody wants to test something or we want to learn something or we're learning something and somebody, think we could use that information, then sometimes we'll just hit start broadcast. Really, this Business Hangouts app is really, really good tool for doing this kind of thing. So hopefully that helps you guys. Trying to see if there's any other question. So good. At least you're getting some feedback on that, some feedback from the Hangout. That's good.
Yeah, surprisingly, talking more about advanced things, how to use it as a database,
nice.
SQL scripting. So
good. I'm glad. I mean, so we got a few advanced users, so that's a good thing. And we can approach it that way too. Say, hey, look, this is going to be one for advanced users, or this one's going to be really basic for just, you know, you're putting together a recipe chart and you want to do this, or, you know, something like that. So, and I believe, who is this? Carl put this up. User to user community, and he puts the link in there. Well, thank you for doing that. That's very nice of you. Thank you very much. And again, I'm not promoting my community or anything like that. That's not really what this is about. This is more of getting the TC's exposure, top contributors out there who put in a lot of time and effort trying to help people. And it just gives them a little bit of exposure, but also at the same time, it you know, lets people see, hey, there's real people back here trying to answer these questions and help people out.
So other future videos that I might do, you know, I know you have a lot of people coming to do this and getting more exposure, so there may be some videos that I do that aren't through Business Hangouts with Michael. But I do have a YouTube channel that I've been kind of updating every once in a while. I haven't done any videos in a while, but if you get to my Google Plus profile, I'll always post things there about new videos I'm doing or any other comments. I also have a Google Plus collection, I think is what they're called, and so I'll just basically all about Google Sheet stuff that I'll post things in. So in terms of following up for things that we're getting feedback about this Hangout, if it's not going to be a business Hangout, it might be something I do that I just throw on my YouTube channel, or if Michael has time, I can come in and do another one. So
you will definitely be on again, because I love spreadsheets. I love them, love them, love them. So anytime you want to come back, if I've got an open spot, you'll be in it as far as I'm concerned. So trust me, you'll be back.
Sounds good. Yeah, probably a little bit more structured too, because if we have something we can talk about, I can kind of maybe go through the whole process of, okay, we get a question and how do we provide a response and what do we think about when we're designing things like that. Because part of the knowledge is, okay, spreadsheet functions and knowing how it works, but really how you design your data is such a big part of spreadsheets, and I think understanding the thought process behind why a function is the way it is will really help people not only learn, but also learn power of sheets.
I totally agree with you. All right, if no one else has any other questions, I can actually, anybody that's out there that wants to come in, I can invite you in up with us. Like I elevated you to this. Anybody that's interested, I'm going to send an invite to everybody. And if you get something that says invite, just allow the permissions and come on in. But I'm going to end this for the broadcast just because it's going to be an hour-long recording already. I'm going to try and keep it probably a little more than an hour, actually. But that's okay. That's no problem because we learned a ton. Anybody can come back and watch this. Tell your friends about it. Give them the link. Share it. You're more than welcome, Charles. Charles says, thanks a lot, guys. My pleasure. I love doing this kind of stuff. I'll invite you in. If you don't want to, just ignore it and just say no or whatever, but I'll invite people up and you can come in and chat with us inside the room here. Again, Ted, thank you so much, and I appreciate you.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
All right. Good night, everybody.